Today we're going to be looking at the Jeep front axle. Here's a quick recap of what we've done in the previous video. Our upper suspension link arms. I need to find the centre. We'll mark this to the centre and we'll attach it. I'm going to have a bit of a clean up and then we'll be right back. Okay, I've had a little bit of a clean up. Now I would like it to be level with this, so it's square on the top. Can't do it to the table because obviously this. Oh, and the direction matters, of course, because this has got to face the back. One of the things that I mentioned earlier was that there was an extra piece here which restricted the steering angle, and I've cut it off, and that was actually at the front. So I know this part here is the front of the axle, so that's the front. So this has got to point to the back, which means this is the opening is at the back on this one. So in fact, it's probably easier if I'm, because there's a, where the rib is, look, there's a nice mark there. So it's probably easier if I mark it on the other side. So let's just mark the other side at 44.5 millimeters. So one of the things I'm going to do is I don't really want to use a piece of plastic because I don't want to glue it on here. So anyway, that's the position we want. Use some clamps to clamp it into place and get something flat to clamp downwards this way to keep it all in line. Right, here's the clamps. And I can use this square and just use the body of it as something to clamp to keep it all in line. First off though, let's get some cement on there. Although some of this is hollow, I'm just going to mark. I don't really want to put more glue on than is necessary, so I'm just going to mark where the ends come. And there, and there. And then you can see where the cement goes. Right, well that's it, ready to go. The next part is wait for this to dry. Okay, let's have a look and see this is all dry now, so we'll get the clamps off. Oh, there's one. 2. 3. Okay, so here we are. So we've now got our mountings for our springs, which we'll put on in a minute. We got our mounting for our upper links, which we'll wait until we got the links. This may need cutting back and adjusting, but until I got the links, I don't know. So we'll leave that as it is, ready to tidy up. I need to put the links on for the lower arms, or the brackets for the lower arms. I took these off. These were the original body screws, off the old chassis, and I thought, well, I could mount them here somehow. These all need cutting back, but I didn't want to cut too much off and then end up with them no use at all. So I thought, well, if I cut them now, but I'm going to put them on later. We'll have a look. For the moment, I want to get it all back together again, and we can have a look and see how it fares. So here we have it. So this is the front here, obviously no diff, and springs on here. In fact, although I've got nothing to attach it to at the moment, I think I will put the springs on so we can see how it would look. Obviously when we fit this to a vehicle, we'll do the nuts up and everything tight. So there we go, there's the front axle. So here it is all assembled. I've made a couple of changes. I did off camera, I did actually say what I was going to do, so I filled this gap with hot glue. The couple of changes I have made is I've made a mechanical connection here. I've actually put some screws in, swing arm mount. The other change I did, which you can't actually see, but it became evident when I tried to take it apart. Earlier in the video I mentioned about the brake pipe that I cut and used for the bottom mounts here. I left the burr on the inside, so you had to screw it in, actually all automatically threaded itself into the brake pipe. Well, subsequently off camera, when I took these off to do these odd little bits, I found that I had dreadful trouble getting it out, because when I put it on originally I held them with a pair of pliers. Of course I can't when the shock's in the way. So I managed to get them off, so I cleaned it out, and the bottom mounts for this, the pipes, the piece of brake pipe in there, the spacers or whatever you want to call them, I've actually cleaned out, reamed out, so they're just a slide fit now. So I can just push the screws straight in, and that's all I've done so far. The next thing I want to do, or the next thing I need to do, is put the bottom mounts for the 4-link suspension, which I did look for some offcuts of the original chassis, but there isn't anything suitable. I'm not going to do this until I've got the lower suspension arms, so I know exactly how wide to place them. The other thing I intend to do is I'm going to use a piece of this, make it full width of the chassis, and I'm going to bend it so I can put some mechanical fasteners between the steering joints here and the centre box section which we've made. So I'll put a piece right across the bottom, and I am going to bend it so it fits inside here, glue and screw. So I'll put a screw through this end side in. We will dismantle this, and then I'll put some screws in. Okay, they'll be at an angle, but they will give some mechanical support here and here, and we'll put a couple of screws in the bottom just to support it in the bottom as well, just to give it some really good mechanical support. And that will be it, apart from the lower swinging arms, suspension links at the bottom here. But at the moment I haven't got the links. I'm not quite sure how big they're going to be. I am going to make them out of this sheet of UPVC. as well. So we're going to make 2 brackets and screw them on, and but we'll do that as an update to this axle as and when the links arrive, because I'm not quite sure how big the knuckles are, or the ball joints are on the end of the links, so I'm not quite sure how big to make the brackets. Obviously these ones here are this size because of the piece of plastic that was moulded anyway, and that's a guess, so we may have to shim, we may not. I certainly don't think they're bigger than that, but that doesn't mean they're not, and we'll wait and see. Okay, but at the moment I'm going to do this piece at the bottom, so we'll cut a piece of this. A little bit long. Ideal. Super. So that will give it the strength across the bottom. It will join these 2 pieces together. We will dismantle all of this, and we will put some screws in here and put some screws into the end, into this bit, so it goes right through both. Make a nice mechanical joint. I'll dismantle this. You've seen me take this apart and put it back together before, so I'll dismantle this off camera, and then we'll get back to fixing this. Right, here it is all dismantled again, or disassembled. So here's the 2 pieces. Fit together nicely, and what we need to do now is drill some holes for some screws prior to gluing. First we'll clamp this end and this end, and we're going to drill through here, being careful not to damage this area. It's a bit awkward, but just to get a screw in there, some mechanical joint. There's some screws here which will fit short term. Just before we glue it together, make sure everything fits. You want to screw it while the holes are still lined up. There we go. Okay, so that's a nice mechanical fit. We'll remove the clamps. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking maybe 2 screws in each side, right down the centre. Okay, I'll pause it here. I'll look for a couple of extra screws and I'll be right back. It is a budget build, so we are looking at just putting in what I've got. In fact, I could do that 2 and 2. So what we need to do now is get these ones out, clean it up, and get ready to glue it and screw it together. I just want to make sure there's no burr underneath here. I'll give these a quick deburr. Right, as this is not polystyrene, we're going to use some hot glue across here. Be very quick with the screws. Just get the hot glue gun up to temperature and we'll be right back. Okay, the glue gun's up to temperature, so I don't want glue seeping down too much through here, so I'm going to primarily glue along the bottom and these will just be more mechanical fixings at the end, but I will put a little bit on so it can smear down as I screw. So here we go. Right, there we go, all glued together, nice and firm and strong. So we'll pause it here and I'll show you when it's all back together. Here it is all back together. It's all complete now, apart from the bottom link mounts, which we'll add once it's fitted to the chassis to get the right positioning. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.